Hello, this is Angry Baby. I'm here today reviewing a new coffee machine. This one is called the Dream. Okay, why is it called the Dream? Well, the Dream is the S1 machine, but it's the new version that's just been brought out in the UK. So if you say you've got one, you haven't, because it's only just come out. Okay, so how does the S1 work? The S1 works quite similar, the Dream, sorry, works quite similar to the other S1s, except it has a lot of added features. The S40, that's the machine that's used in the UK Barista Championship this year, it has the same functionality, believe it or not, as that machine. So if you're a serious home user, this is a fantastic machine for you. Okay, so we're moving on to the machine. We've got rotary turn steam on here. It gives us a good, decent control of the steam coming out. Okay, then we have obviously our on and off button here on the side. We have a water dispensing function, which comes out of here. I can go into the menu, I can turn it on so it will automatically fill up a cup this big and then stop, or fill up a cup smaller and then stop. That can all be programmed inside the machine. Then I have a function to turn the boiler on and off. Why would I want that, you might say? How am I going to make coffee if my boiler's turned off? Well, the Spaziale has two boilers. One that constantly provides you coffee at the perfect temperature, and the other one that provides you hot water and your steam, also at a predefined temperature. Now they use something called PID, which basically in layman terms means it heats in pulses, basically correcting and allowing for historical information and current information to make sure that those pulses maintain a correct temperature throughout, and that's accurate to within about ½ degree centigrade. Okay, so without further ado, the next buttons which we're going to use the machine are your single espresso button, your free flow button that will keep going until you tell it to stop, and then your double espresso button. Over here at the side I've got my up and down functionality for my menus, and I've also got a function to turn the menu on and off. On the screen we've got a nice picture of London. There are other cities available on there as well, so if you're not from England you can pick something else. We have the temperature that's going on with the coffee. We have the temperature on the right hand side, which is relevant to the boiler over here that's providing the steam. And then we have the time and also functions relating to that. So kind of the machine turning on and off at specific moments in time. You don't even have to turn it on yourself. Okay, first of all I've got calendar, then I've got time, next function. Then I've got beep, which you can hear is going off. It's quite annoying, so we could turn it off, but I'm going to keep it on for the purposes of demonstration. We've got backlight LCD, so that was basically turning our LCD on and off after a set moment of time, which I mentioned previously. Language function, obviously. Timer to turn itself on and off at specific moments in time. Then we've got counters, so this is quite useful if you're basically wanting to know how many espressos you've done over a set period of time, and it's also will tell you the amount of water you dispensed as well. That timer is also can be reset, and the other handy thing about it is also that it will use that timing function to allow the user to tell it when the filter needs changing and when the service needs it. Okay, next we have the program function, and that's to program different levels of coffee within the drink. I'll go back into that in a minute. Next we've got service, which comes back to what I was saying before, so kind of automatically telling us when it needs a service. Filter, it can tell us automatically when it needs its filter changing. Alarms, so we have different alarms which will tell you different diagnosis of what's wrong with the machine, so that you don't have to spend as much time trying to get it repaired, and that in the long future. These are reliable machines, but obviously any machine can go down. Next you've got some read files as well. Some you can basically write as well. You can write things into the programming menu, so you can have your own specific setups on the machine. Again, I'll go into that in more detail later. You can also write that to an SD card. The SD card connections below, so if you have multiple machines, you can basically transfer the data between each one, and then obviously read it from each one. We've got the LED functionality below, which is your spotlight LEDs to make the machine, the coffee look basically more appealing. So if you've got it in the kitchen, it'll look beautiful as it's making the coffee. The light shine, the downlight is shining down on your coffee. And then we have the EGS grinding system at the end, which basically is to help you correct. The same thing happens on the Spaziale. When your grind is set too fine or too coarse, the machine will tell you that it needs adjusting accordingly. Okay, so you can have a different person, so obviously the beauty about this machine is it can be set up different temperatures, slightly different profiles in the way it's set up to function, different temperatures on both boilers, different amounts of extraction. So how do we set all these parameters? We set them using this menu, but then we can also name it as our own settings, if you like. So for me, it will be Angry Beans settings to make the coffee. For someone else, John, James, whoever, whatever their name is, they can have their own settings as well. They'll be wrong if they're not the same settings I've put them in, but if they want to have them, they can have them anyway. Okay, so that would allow me to then set programming menus for the following. Coffee temperature. What temperature do I want my coffee coming out at? Different beans will respond and give slightly different taste profiles to different temperatures. Boiler temperature, that's the temperature that I like to use the steam at. I can basically change the temperature up or down to create more dry steam if I want to do more latte art. And one really nice function on this machine is it also basically will measure the amount of seconds that it's extracting for. The other thing it does is it measures the number of impulses. What are impulses, I hear you say? Impulses are not something that I get when I jump in every time to come on the screen. Impulses are something that basically the electrics inside the machine measure the number of times that your flow meter rotates, and how it does that is a little magnet inside the flow meter, and it will basically count the number of times it rotates, and it can then basically calculate that to a specific volume of water that's passing through the machine. Thus it can create the amount of volume that's in your cup ultimately. So the reason that that's important is basically you want to be able to measure the amount of water that's actually coming through to make your espresso, as well as the time that it takes. There's no use taking 23 seconds if it's actually only extracting 10 ml of coffee. Your settings are all wrong. So that will allow you to do that, and it's settable on the single, and it's also settable on the double. Settable, probably not a word. Setting is the word that I'm looking for. Okay, so coffee dosers, hot water, we talked about this very briefly. You can have this so it measures the correct portion of water. Very useful if I'm doing an Americano, filling with the espresso, and moving over there, press my water button, it will dispense the perfect amount and stop. There's no need to stand over it. I can switch it off and turn it to manual if I desire. And that is it. There is nothing else to talk about. Very good machine, controls every single parameter you could hope for. Classic Spaziale functionality. Obviously it's still got your reduced diameter group handles, which obviously allow for a much deeper espresso shot, which they believe gives you a superior espresso. And then we have your steam one, which I went through previously. That's basically on a ball joint, so that will rotate in 360 and turn as well while it's rotating. And then that is it. Your water drip tray is detachable here to empty out. And you've also got a water tank here at the front of the machine, not at the back, because the back is useless if it's in your kitchen, and you're going to get around the back to it. So very well built, beautiful machine. Just one thing left that you need to do, and that is go and buy it!